Hi everyone, hope you're doing well. Today we're going to be looking at how to hook up a contact form using Next.js. We're going to be creating our API route to send off an email when we submit the form, and we're going to be using React Hook Form on the front end. So to get started, if you just npm install React Hook Form, Axios, and we're going to need NodeMailer to send the emails. And then once you have done that, you're good to go. The link to this starter code is in the description. You can clone that GitHub repository and start from scratch. If you want to code out and style your own contact form, make sure you have these name attributes on the input fields. I've used Tailwind CSS. So like I said, if you clone this initial Git repository, we're going to be adding some or we might need to add some Tailwind CSS styles. So make sure if you do it yourself, then you add Tailwind CSS. So let's get started right away. And the first thing that we want to do is import useForm from React Hook Form, like so. And then let's just make sure we run our development server. And then in order to use the form, we're just going to say, we're going to take the register, handle submit, we want errors, we want to be able to reset the form, and we're just going to say equals useForm. So we're destructuring these values from the hook provided to us by React Hook Form. So the documentation, react-hook-form.com, the documentation is great. In the past, I've built custom hooks and gone down that rabbit hole of trying to actually create a fully custom hook which tackles most edge cases and things like that. It's quite a lot of work. So I think where we're doing work on a project or for a client, using something battle tested like React Hook Form usually will make sense for most use cases. So with that being said, the first thing we need to do is register all of our inputs. So we're just going to register all of the inputs like so, and that's pretty much our form done. Would you imagine? React Hook Form takes care of the state and everything for us. So on our form itself, let's just add the onSubmit. We're going to give it the handle submit function, which actually takes a function that we're going to create ourselves. So we'll just call it onSubmit form. And then I'm just going to make a function here, function onSubmit form. That's going to take the values of the form, and we're just going to console log those values for now. Let's add some stuff here, hit submit, and there we go. We've got our contact form kind of functioning already. Of course, we don't want our users to be able to type absolutely everything in these fields, so we are going to add some validation to that. We can see with very little code, we've got we've got this up and running so far. So let's figure out what we actually want. So we want the name, the email. We're not too concerned about the phone number being required. So what I'm going to do here is, in this register, we're going to pass in an object, and I'm going to say required. Now I want to also add error messages. So I'm going to pass an object to this. I'm going to say the value of this is going to be true, so it is required. And the message is going to be, you must enter your name. So we're good. And then I'm going to take this. I'm going to replace it like this. You must enter your email address. And you can use some regex to test and things like that as well. However, we can just pass in like min length value is going to be, I don't know, let's say like 8 characters, and the message is going to be, this is not long enough to be an email, and we can do max length. Why is that not working? max length value, and let's say 120. This is too long. This is too long. So that's our email validation done, and of course you can also just add the H. It's an email type field, so if you try and submit it that it isn't an email, it won't work either. So you can add the HTML required property as well, but we don't really want that because we want to trigger our validation. So the phone number we're going to leave as it is for now. It's just going to be optional. And then the message, let's just say that this is required. This is so annoying. Required value is true. The message is going to be, you need to enter your message. And then, that's not a comma. The max length of this, we don't want anyone sending us essays, so we're going to say the value of this is 1,000, and the message is, I cannot type today, your message can't be more than 1,000 characters. So we have our validation now. So if we console log out these errors here, you can see it's an empty object. If we submit it, we're not getting any errors right now. If I delete this name, it's not actually submitting, so it's not actually triggering the re-render. So I will show you the errors. Let's start using the errors. So on our name field, underneath the input, let's just add a span tag, and then we're going to say if there's errors with the name, then we want the message. So you must enter your name, and that's coming from this error message here, and then that is good to go. So I want to actually make this, let's just do text red 400. We'll make the text really small. Have a bit of padding. There we go. You must enter your name. Cool. So I'm going to add this span onto the email as well, underneath that input. But I'm going to change this to embers.email. And then I'm also going to add it underneath the message text area, but change this to errors.message. So if we submit this now, getting the name, and you know, for the message, we could add the min length as well, because we don't really want to be having value of that is going to be, I don't know, let's just say 50. You can't really say that much in 50 characters. Your message must be longer than this. You need to enter your message. Okay. So the way the React Hook form will work is when you get an error, it will then attach an onChange listener to each input. And so it's saying here you must enter your name. So once we enter a name, that's now going to go away. Same with your email and same with this. So the last thing that we could do if we wanted to, just with Tailwind here, I will just show you it on one of these, and you can do it yourself on them all if you want. But you could say here, if you have got errors.name, then I want to do a ring around it. So ring -2, and then ring red 500. so otherwise no. So where we've got errors on our name field, you'll see that you must enter your name. And when we type that, it goes away. So you can add that to all of these fields yourself. Are these classes? Yeah, so let's just add these. We'll just take the class name here and just copy this whole thing. And then errors.email. We don't have any errors for the phone number. And then presumably this is the same class as errors.message. Okay, so this is working now. So you must enter your name, Bob, and you must enter your message. Okay. Yeah, I think that's about right. So we've now got our front end working. So we've got our error handling. We could again use regex to check for the phone number being correct, to check that this is really an email. And you know, React Hook Form has pattern validation. So in the API, if you React Hook Form pattern validation. So as an example of that, where is it at? Form pattern validation. So required, and then a pattern value with a message is what you'll do. So email address, regex. So I'm going to be honest, I have no clue with regex. I certainly don't want it to be like that. Wow, this is pretty, something simpler. Try something like, okay, this definitely looks simpler. So if you want to add email required, is this where we put pattern? Yeah, pattern. So the value of the pattern will be like this. And the message, this needs to be a valid email address. So if we refresh this, you must enter an email address. It's not long enough to be an email. Submit. Please enter an email address. So that's because this is the HTML validation. So if I change that type to text real quick, just so we can check our validation. Must enter an email address. This is not long enough. The pattern doesn't seem to be working. Yeah, regex is not exactly my thing, but I'm sure there's a simple way to get that working. Like this. Like, does it just want the actual string like this? Really? Just based on a string like that? Let's refresh. This will be a surprise to me. So it's, yeah, it needs to be a valid email address. Yeah, so that's how you do pattern regex. Just with this pattern. So hopefully you can see React Hook Form is absolutely great. So front end is about right. So name is working at gmail.com. That's working. There's no phone numbers. And then we'll just add a long message. Hit submit. And we've got our email message, the name, the phone number, if it's there. So cool. So we've got our values now. Our onSubmit form function is not doing a whole lot. So we're going to use Axios now to actually send this request to the backend. So let's have a little look at what that looks like. So we can define a config like this. So the method is going to be post. The URL we're going to send the request to. Now I've already got this localhost 3000 in a environment variable. So you would just do URL is process.env.next public API URL, and you need an environment variable that just looks like next public API URL equals http://localhost 3000, like that. So if you add that to a file called env.local, then you can use this. So I added that before. You'll have it. You'll be able to set it up. Sorry. Okay. So we've said what URL we want to send the request to. So the headers that we want to send. Let's just send the content type headers. Content type is going to be application JSON. And then finally, the data is just going to be values. And that's the information we're going to send across to the backend. So we can now just say, oh, sorry, this URL, we actually need to do /API / we'll just call it submit contact form. Let's just call it contact. Let's just be, do it like that. Okay, so /API / content. So then we can actually, this is going to be an async function. And then we can just say const response equals await axios. I'm going to pass in the config. And then we can console log the response here. That's absolutely fine. So let's whack this in a try catch as well. Come on, man, where's the try catch? There we go. Try catch. Let's put this in there. Console.error. Okay. So let's actually go and create the API route. So we've got this hello.js. I'm just going to rename that to contact.js. We're going to export the default. We've got a request and a response. So let's just say, let's console log the request.body and then response status 200.json. And then let's just say, again, request.body, we can send that response back. So if we now submit our form on our backend, you can see here. So obviously this is happening on the server. So on our backend, we have got this. And then we also got this console log that came through here, which is the response. So you can see here we got a status of 200. So basically when we send our email, I want to, if the email is sent successfully, we'll send the response of a 200. If it doesn't, then we will send a different response. And then we can, in our front end here, we could say something like, if response dot data, if response dot data dot status is equal to 200, then we can we can use this reset thing, for example. I don't want to do that because that means I'm gonna have to type it out every time, but we can just say here success for now. And I think these are great, like where you have little notifications and things, just to use notifications, and it's a really good experience for your users when they complete an action and it actually tells them what they did. Okay, so let's continue on with the backend. of course we don't just want to console log the information. So we've got this data, so say actually let's destructure off what we need. So we need the name, email, message, and phone equals request.body, like so. That's cool. And then we're going to set up node mailer. So import node mailer from node mailer. Now with node mailer, again, there's great documentation. The stuff that I'm going to do here, we're going to set up like for every single node mailer that you use. So it's just boilerplate code essentially. Feel free to just copy and paste it from the docs. It's not something you need to remember. Now, I'm going to be using Gmail as an SMTP server. You can configure a send grid or something like that to send emails, which is maybe a little bit easier, but I mean, this only takes a few minutes anyway, so let's just do this. So we're going to define a transporter, like so. I'm going to say that this is a node mailer dot create transport, which is going to take an object with a few details. So the host, I'm going to be using Gmail, like I say. If you've got a personal Gmail account, you can use this. You will just need to create an application password or enable less secure apps. Mine's set up with an application password. So smtp.gmail.com. The port is going to be 465. Secure is going to be true. I'm going to pass an auth object, which again, you have got the user, and I've also got an environment variable set up for this, process.env.user, and then the password is process.env.pass. So again, this is just your Google Mail username and application password. Okay, so now that we've set up the transporter, what do we actually need to do? We just need to send the email. So I want to do this in a try catch block, and let's just say, so const email equals await transporter, and actually export default, let's make this async. Email equals await transporter, so using this transporter that we defined, dot send mail, and then we want to pass in a few things. So we're going to put in the from field the actual email, which is coming from the body here. And why is that not highlighting? Sometimes it's really weird with these try catches. Okay, so it's going to be from the email. We're going to be to, and let's just put in my spam email here. The subject, let's just put in here for now, contact form, actually let's just do it, contact form submission from, and let's put in the name. Yeah, like why is that email not working? That's strange. And then we're going to be sending a HTML, and you know, you just have to do this in a string. It's kind of annoying that you have to type it all out manually. But we'll just do something like, you have a new contact form submission, and then in here we can do a new line, and then we might say something like, in a paragraph tag, we've got the name. Actually, let's do that in a strong tag. So you get your name, like so. Let's close the strong tag. This is rather annoying. Name, and then I'm going to pop in here the actual name, and then let's close the p tag. And yeah, you will we'll do this for each one. So let's make a new line. So we've got the p tag, strong tag, name, close the strong tag, and then we've got their actual name. So then for each one of these, we're going to add a new line. So we've got name, email, phone number, and then the message. Name, email, phone. Oh. Oh, we don't actually need the email, we've got the reply to. So then we'll just say that the message, and then we'll pass in the message like that. Okay, perfect. So that's our email done. So it's going to send us the subject contact form submission from, and their actual name, and then it's going to say their name, their phone, and their message. Okay, perfect. So we're awaiting this thing here. So then, if it's a success, I just want to say console log. We can do message sent, and we can actually do. You can get email, and I think it's called message ID. It responds with, and then if there's an error, then let's just cancel out the error for now. Let's refresh this page. So full name is Bob. I don't know what I'm bob@bob.com. That's a phone number. This is a message. I really love this video on contact forms. Okay, so let's submit. So it may have worked. Did we not console log the success? Cannot access email before initialization. Name, email. Ah, I see the problem. We've got this field called email, and we've got that. So let's change this to email response, and email response. Yeah, I'm an idiot. Sorry, guys. Okay, hit submit. Invalid login, application specific password required. Yeah, so you need to set up the application password for your Gmail. I am guessing mine is not working right now. Let me just pause this video. I will fix it off camera and I will be back. Okay, welcome back. I have just tested and everything is now working. So I didn't change any of the code. I just changed the environment variable in here for the password. So you'll need to generate an app password if you're using Gmail like I am. However, feel free to use any SMTP provider. So yeah, let's just add in some details here. You know, we can put in something that looks like a phone number at least. And then message wise, we can do this. So we've submitted that. You can see we have got our message now being sent. And I'm just checking my phone. Everything is working cool. So we've got a contact form submission from Bob Ross. Perfect. So everything's working cool. Hopefully yours is working as well. Now, what I want to do quickly just on the front end here. So if the response is successful, then we should be console login success. So it doesn't look like this is actually triggering here. So cons response, let's console log that response. It might just be if response.status is 200. Let's just have a look. Submit. Yeah, so we've got response.status 200. So it's a success. So if it's a success, then we can finally reset our form. And you know, traditionally you would want to reset the inputs. You might display a little notification, and then it's sometimes a good idea to like redirect. So you could do that if we did import use router from next router, and then we can just say here, we can just define the router, use router like so. So reset, and then router.push. We can go back to the index page, but that is, we're actually on the index page, so that's not gonna do much. So you can see there, it reset, and it would navigate us to a totally different page. So that is basically everything you need to know to get a well-functioned contact form set up using Next.js. Now, again, React Hook Form is great. I think the front-end implementation is relatively simple. You could definitely use something like SendGrid to send your emails, and that configuration might be a little bit simpler. However, I think this setup with NodeMailer is relatively straightforward. There's nothing too complicated here, and of course you can send whatever you like. So yep, hopefully this was useful.